Hello, I'm Sterling Heights Community Relations Director Melanie Davis. Welcome to City Management Report, the Census 2020 edition. In the SHTV studios with me today, I have Sterling Heights City Clerk Melanie Riska. Thanks, Melanie, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks. So, Census Day, it's coming up on April 1st, and the city's been doing a whole lot to help get the word out and make sure that every single one of our residents is counted in the census. But before we get into all those details, can you just share with us a little bit about what the census is?
Yes, absolutely. So the census is a constitutionally mandated count of every person in the United States every 10 years. And we count everybody regardless of age, gender, income level, citizenship status, and so on. It also determines our federal funding that states receive and our congressional representation.
Okay, so obviously the federal government thinks that the census is pretty important and they're putting a lot of effort behind this as well. But for our local residents here, can you tell us a little bit why the census is so important right here in our local community?
Yeah, absolutely. So for every person not counted, residents stand to lose about $1,800 every year for 10 years. And that's for federal programs such as Medicaid, nutrition programs, road funding, and those sorts of things. There's a lot of approximately 55 different federal programs that we lose funding for. So for a small amount of people in our community that are not counted, it really equates to a lot of money.
Yeah, it sounds like a significant amount of money. If you do the quick math at 1,800, it seems like if you just have a very small percentage of our residents that go uncounted, it could literally mean hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 10 years that our residents are losing out on important funding on those programs. And it sounds like those are things that all of us use. So yes, it's a pretty big deal. So how can a resident fill out the census?
So on March 12th, the census is going to be sending out letters to every household, and it's going to have their census ID number. This year, we can fill out our census online. So we can go online, use that ID number, and complete it that way. We can also do the paper form, and we can also do it by phone this time.
Okay, so it sounds pretty easy, but what if somebody has a language barrier, or maybe they lack the technical capabilities to fill it out online, or they don't have access to a computer? What can they do then?
That's a great question. We have a lot of residents in our community where English is their second language. The census is translated on the phone in 12 different languages. Additionally, they have resources online, such as glossaries and whatnot, in 59 different languages. So there are a ton of resources out there for those different languages. With regards to somebody who maybe does not have a computer, we have resources at our community center that's opening up here shortly, our library, and our senior center.
Excellent. So it sounds like the city's like doing everything that they can to make sure that completion is easy for our residents, and that we make sure that everybody has the ability to fill that out, in any way that they can. So some residents might be wondering as they fill this out, I fill out my census, what happens to my data? What happens to their data once they fill it out?
So census data is protected. The questionnaire is 10 questions for the first person, 9 questions for each additional person in the household. It is protected by Title 13 of the U.S. Code. That means that anybody that has that census information, they can't share it with anybody, including law enforcement agencies. If they do, they stand to have a penalty of $250,000 and 5 years in federal prison. So they take an oath not to share that information.
So it sounds like anybody that fills it out can be 100% confident that their information is confidential, and it can only be used for the census and for purposes of that congressional representation and the funding aspects that you talked about, and it won't be used for any other purpose. So it's a safe and confidential way of getting counted, right? Well, thank you so much for coming in this morning, and we've finished segment 1 of the City Management Report Census 2020 edition. We will be back after a short break where Melanie will be joining us again with a very special guest. So we'll see you again after the break.
Hi, I'm Sterling Heights Mayor Michael Taylor. This spring, Sterling Heights residents will have the opportunity to help retain important federal funding for our community by completing the 2020 census. Census notifications will be mailed to everyone in mid-March with information on how to complete the questionnaire. If you need help filling out your census, resources will be available at the Public Library, the new Community Center, and the Chaldean Community Foundation. The census is important because if even a handful of our residents go uncounted, our residents can lose millions in federal funding that helps support programs we all use, like Medicaid, student loans, nutrition programs, road construction, and more. So please complete your census by April 1st. And remember, when we're all counted, we all win.
Be counted. Count me in.
Welcome back to City Management Report, Census 2020 edition. I'm Melanie Davis, Sterling Heights Community Relations Director, and in the SHTV studio with me today, I have Sterling Heights City Clerk Melanie Riska, who's brought with her a very special guest, our very own Sterling Be Counted. Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you here. So Sterling, in the last segment, we talked a lot about how important the census is to our local community. So can you help share with us some ideas of how residents can help us spread the word?
So what Sterling Be Counted is saying is that residents can sign up to be census ambassadors. One way to help spread the word is to share our social media posts, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, those sorts of things. Also, we can distribute flyers. At any events that you might have, distribute flyers to everybody, or we can have people go into neighborhoods and hang those flyers on the door handles. Also, we can invite city representatives to come to your events. We can do a short presentation, share the importance of the census, or we can have volunteers come to some of our census completion events.
So speaking of volunteers, Sterling, we have some undercounted areas that we really want to highlight, and we really want to focus on making sure that those undercounted populations are reached. So what are some of those undercounted populations?
So Sterling says that some of the undercounted populations are those persons that are over 65, those persons that are under 5 years old, so children, people, renters, right? Oh, thank you, Sterling, I appreciate that. Renters, and also the foreign-born population. You know, a lot of times they're afraid to fill out the census, so they are undercounted. In order to reach those undercounted populations, we're going to ask our volunteers to go out in the community and hang door hangers and just flyers and reach out to the organizations which those people belong to make sure that they understand the importance.
Okay, so we're going to try to hit all those undercounted populations in all the best ways that we can, right? Well, that's fantastic, Sterling. Is there anything else that you'd like to add for the benefit of our residents?
So Sterling is really encouraging everybody to be a census ambassador. So please go to our website. It's sterling-heights.net/census 2020, and you could fill out a form to be an ambassador. You'll get a really cool kit of all the information and stuff that you need, and a t-shirt that kind of looks a little bit something like Sterling Be Counted's t-shirt.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for being in the studio with us today. Thank you, Sterling. Thanks, Melanie. We appreciate it. And that wraps it up for City Management Report Census 2020 edition. Remember that you can always find more information on the census on our website or by calling Community Relations. And just remember, make sure to fill out your census on or before Census Day on April 1st.